Stop. Before you scroll away, listen to this for just a moment. Because somewhere in the world right now, there is someone watching this who has been carrying a pain they never talk about. Someone who smiles in front of everyone, but cries when nobody is watching. Someone who keeps saying, "I'm okay." Even though deep inside, they are asking one question: does God still see me? If that person is you, stay until the end. Because this story is about a soul that thought it was forgotten, but discovered that heaven had never stopped seeing its value. Imagine a moment beyond time. A place where every prayer, every tear, and every silent battle is known. Not because a person is perfect. Not because they have never made mistakes. But because every human heart has a story. A story that the world may never understand. A story that only God can truly see. There was once a person who looked ordinary from the outside. No one knew the battles they had fought. No one knew the nights they spent staring at the ceiling, wondering when life would finally change. People saw their mistakes. People remembered their failures. People judged the chapters they had already written. But they did not see the pages that were still waiting to be written. They did not see the strength that was growing in silence. They did not see the faith that remained even after disappointment. And sometimes, that is exactly how life feels. You can be surrounded by people and still feel completely alone. You can help everyone else and secretly wish someone would ask, "Are you really okay?" You can pray for others while quietly hoping someone remembers to pray for you. If you have ever felt that way, I want you to remember this: your value was never created by people's opinions. Your worth was never decided by your worst day. Your identity was never meant to be built on your failures. You are more than what happened to you. You are more than the mistakes you regret. You are more than the battles you survived. And if you believe that God is still working in your life, write "I still believe" in the comments. Not because words alone can change everything, but because sometimes a simple declaration of faith reminds another person that they are not walking through their struggle alone. Thousands of people are fighting battles nobody knows about. A mother praying for her family. A father trying to stay strong. A young person searching for purpose. Someone recovering from heartbreak. Someone rebuilding after losing everything. And sometimes, one message of hope can reach a person at the exact moment they need it. The Bible is filled with stories of people who felt forgotten. David was overlooked before he became a king. Joseph was betrayed before he stepped into his purpose. Moses doubted himself before leading others. Their beginning did not define their ending. And neither does yours. There are moments when heaven feels silent. Moments when you pray and wonder why the answer has not arrived. Moments when you ask, "God, are you listening?" But silence does not always mean absence. A seed grows beneath the ground before anyone sees the flower. A sunrise begins while the world is still dark. And sometimes your greatest transformation begins in the very season you wanted to escape. This story is about that moment. The moment when a broken heart discovers that it was never abandoned. The moment when someone who felt invisible realizes they were always known. The moment when faith becomes stronger than fear. Because sometimes the greatest miracles are not the ones everyone sees. Sometimes the greatest miracles happen inside a person's heart. The ability to forgive. The courage to start again. The strength to believe one more time. The choice to get up after falling. And maybe today, that is your miracle. Maybe today is the day you stop believing the lie that your story is finished. Maybe today is the day you realize, God is not done writing your story. Because the same hands that created the universe can also rebuild a wounded heart. The same God who brought light into darkness can bring hope into your darkest season. So stay with this story. Because the next moment reveals what happens when a person who felt completely forgotten discovers a truth that changes everything. For years, this person carried a question inside their heart. A question they were afraid to say out loud. Why did God allow me to go through this? Maybe you have asked that question too. Why did the door close when you needed it to open? Why did someone you trusted walk away? Why did you have to experience pain when all you wanted was peace? These questions are not signs of weak faith. They are signs of a human heart trying to understand a world that does not always make sense. Even the strongest believers have moments when they struggle. Moments when they cry. Moments when they wonder. But faith is not the absence of questions. Faith is choosing to trust even while you are searching for answers. Imagine a person standing alone in a quiet room. No applause. No attention. No one watching. Just a heart carrying memories that nobody else knows about. The disappointments. The failures. The moments they wished they could go back and change. They looked at their own reflection and only saw the things that went wrong. But what they did not see was the courage it took to survive. They did not see every time they almost gave up but decided to continue. They did not see every prayer whispered through tears. They did not see every act of kindness they showed while they were hurting themselves. Sometimes we are the last people to recognize the strength God has already placed inside us. We are so focused on what we lost that we forget what we survived. We focus on the unanswered prayers and forget the prayers that were already answered. We focus on the battles ahead and forget the mountains we already climbed. Maybe you need to hear this today. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are not invisible. Your journey is different because your purpose is different. There are things growing inside you that cannot be rushed. A tree does not become strong overnight. Its roots grow deeper during storms. And sometimes the storms of life are creating a strength inside you that comfort never could. If you are watching this from your home right now, maybe sitting alone, maybe after a difficult day, I want you to remember something. The fact that you are still here means your story is still being written. Your darkest chapter is not the final chapter. Your greatest disappointment is not the end of your journey. Your biggest mistake is not bigger than God's ability to restore. Think about the people who believed they had reached the end. People who lost everything. People who felt like their dreams were buried. But sometimes what looks like an ending is actually preparation for a new beginning. Sometimes God removes what we cannot carry, so He can give us something greater than we imagined. The problem is, when we are in the middle of the storm, we cannot see the purpose of the rain. We only feel the cold. We only feel the wind. We only see the darkness. But later, when the storm passes, we realize something changed. We became stronger. We became wiser. We became more compassionate. We became closer to God. The pain we wanted to avoid became the place where our faith grew. The tears we wanted to hide became the proof that we were still fighting. The moments we thought would break us became the moments that shaped us. And maybe, just maybe, the reason you are watching this right now is because someone else needs the hope that your story will one day carry. Your testimony is not only about what happened to you. It is about what God can do through you. A person who has never struggled may understand success. But a person who has survived struggles understands compassion. A person who has never fallen may understand winning. But a person who has fallen and risen understands grace. That is why your scars do not make you less valuable. They are reminders that you survived battles nobody else could see. Now I want to ask you something. What is one thing you are trusting God for right now? A healing? A breakthrough? A relationship? A new beginning? A second chance? Write it in the comments if you feel comfortable. Not because everyone will know your story, but because sometimes putting your faith into words is the first step toward believing again. There is power in saying, I still have hope. I still believe. My story is not over. Because the enemy wants you to believe that your past is stronger than your future. But faith tells you something different. Your future is not controlled by your worst moment. Your future is not controlled by the people who left. Your future is not controlled by the mistakes you made. Your future is held by a God who sees the entire picture when you only see one small piece. The person in this story eventually discovered something life-changing. They were waiting for a sign. But what they really needed was a reminder. A reminder that love had been surrounding them all along. A reminder that every tear mattered. A reminder that every prayer was heard. A reminder that even when they felt alone, they were never truly abandoned. And that realization became the beginning of a transformation. Because when a person finally understands their value, they stop begging the world to prove they matter. They start walking with confidence. They start forgiving themselves. They start believing again. And that is where the next part of this journey begins. The moment when a broken heart discovers a new purpose. There comes a moment in every person's life. A moment when they have to decide. Will I allow my pain to define me? Or will I allow my faith to transform me? For a long time, the person in this story carried the weight of yesterday. Every mistake felt like a chain. Every regret felt like a voice reminding them of what they could never change. They kept looking backward. And because they were looking backward, they could not see what was waiting ahead. Maybe that is where many of us find ourselves. We spend so much time replaying what happened, that we forget to believe in what can happen next. We keep asking, why did they hurt me? Why did that opportunity disappear? Why did my plans fall apart? But sometimes the question that changes everything is not, why did this happen? Sometimes the question is, God, what are you building inside me through this? Because a storm does not only test the strength of a house. It reveals the strength of the foundation. And faith is built the same way. Not during the easy seasons. Not when every prayer is answered immediately. But during the moments when you have every reason to quit. And you choose to trust anyway. The world may never know how many times you had to encourage yourself. They may never know how many tears you wiped away in private. They may never know how many times you said, I don't know how I'm going to get through this. But somehow, you did. You woke up another morning. You took another step. You kept moving forward. And that is not weakness. That is evidence of strength. Sometimes we wait for a dramatic miracle while missing the small miracles happening every day. The strength to forgive. The courage to try again. The ability to love after being hurt. The choice to keep faith after disappointment. Those moments may seem small. But heaven celebrates the battles that nobody else sees. Imagine a person finally understanding this truth. They look back at their journey. They remember the nights they thought they would not survive. They remember the doors that closed. They remember the people who walked away. And instead of only seeing pain, they begin to see purpose. They realize every season taught them something. The lonely seasons taught them dependence on God. The painful seasons taught them compassion. The waiting seasons taught them patience. The broken seasons taught them that they could be rebuilt. And maybe today, you are in your waiting season. Maybe you are asking, when will things change? When will my prayer be answered? When will I finally see the breakthrough? I want you to remember something. A delayed answer is not always a denied answer. Sometimes preparation takes time because the blessing requires a stronger version of you. A child does not learn to walk in one day. A masterpiece is not created with one single brush stroke. And a powerful life is not built without challenges. Your journey is creating something inside you. Something money cannot buy. Something success alone cannot give. Character. Wisdom. Compassion. Faith. The very things that will allow you to handle the blessings you are praying for. Now, if you are listening and you feel like this message is speaking to your heart, take a moment. Place your hand over your heart. And remind yourself, I am still here. I am still growing. I am still becoming who God created me to be. If you believe your story still has a purpose, write, my story is not over. Sometimes a simple sentence can become a powerful reminder. A reminder for you. And maybe a reminder for someone else reading the comments who is struggling tonight. Because you never know. Your words might be the encouragement someone needed. Your testimony might become someone's hope. Your survival might become someone's reason to keep going. The person in this story eventually realized something that changed their entire perspective. They had been asking, why didn't God save me from every storm? But then they understood, maybe God was not only trying to remove the storm. Maybe He was teaching them how to stand through it. Because strength is not created when everything is easy. Strength is revealed when life becomes difficult. Faith is not proven when everything makes sense. Faith is revealed when you trust even when you don't understand. And love is not measured only by the good moments. Love is revealed by the promise that remains through the difficult moments. There is a reason so many people find comfort in faith. Because faith reminds us that our circumstances are temporary. But God's love is constant. The world changes. People change. Situations change. But the hope found in God remains. And maybe the reason you needed to hear this today is because you have been judging yourself too harshly. Maybe you have been carrying guilt that you were never meant to carry forever. Maybe you have been punishing yourself for a chapter God wants to help you heal from. Your past is a chapter. It is not the entire book. The mistakes you made are part of your journey. They are not the definition of your identity. There is still purpose ahead. There are still blessings you have not seen. There are still prayers waiting for their answer. There are still moments that will make you say, now I understand why I had to go through that season. Because sometimes the greatest chapters of life begin after the hardest pages. And the story is not finished yet. The next part reveals the final transformation. The moment when this person stops searching for proof that they matter. And finally understands that they were valued all along. And then came the moment. The moment when everything started to change. Not because every problem disappeared overnight. Not because every unanswered question suddenly had an explanation. But because something changed inside the heart. The person in this story finally understood a truth they had forgotten: they were never fighting for God's attention. They already had His love. For so long, they believed they had to prove they were worthy. They thought one more achievement would make them valuable. One more person accepting them would make them enough. One more success would finally silence the voices of doubt. But they discovered something powerful. Your worth was never created by what you accomplish. Your worth was never measured by how many people approve of you. Your worth was never determined by the opinions of people who only saw a small part of your story. Your value existed before anyone recognized it. Before anyone applauded you. Before anyone understood you. You were created with purpose. And sometimes the hardest journey is not becoming someone new. It is finally accepting who you were created to be. Think about how many people spend their entire lives trying to be accepted by the world. They change themselves. They hide their struggles. They pretend they are stronger than they feel. They wear a smile while carrying a storm inside. But God does not ask you to come with a perfect life. He asks you to come with an honest heart. A heart that says, Lord, I need you. A heart that says, I don't have all the answers. A heart that says, I may be broken, but I still believe you can restore me. Because sometimes the most beautiful things are created from broken pieces. A shattered piece of glass can become a beautiful work of art. A damaged tree can grow new branches. A wounded heart can learn to love again. Your broken moments do not cancel your purpose. They can become the place where your purpose begins. Maybe someone watching this right now feels like they have wasted too much time. Maybe you think, should have done better. I should have made different choices. I should be further ahead by now. But remember this, God is not limited by your timeline. A delayed dream is not always a destroyed dream. A closed door is not always rejection. Sometimes a closed door is protection. Sometimes the path you wanted was not the path that would have prepared you for where you are meant to go. You may not understand the process today. But one day you may look back and say, now I see why I had to walk through that valley. Because valleys are not only places of struggle. They are also places where roots grow deeper. They are places where faith becomes stronger. They are places where we discover that we are capable of more than we ever imagined. If you are listening right now, I want you to remember something. You survived days you thought would break you. You survived moments you thought you could not overcome. You survived seasons where you had more questions than answers. And yet, here you are. Still breathing. Still hoping. Still searching. Still believing. That means something. Your journey matters. Your story matters. Your life matters. And maybe today is the day you stop seeing yourself through the eyes of your past. And start seeing yourself through the eyes of grace. So if you needed this message today, write, God is still writing my story. Not because everything is perfect. Not because every battle is over. But because you believe the final chapter has not been written yet. Someone reading your comment may be struggling. Someone may feel alone. Someone may be one moment away from giving up. And your simple words could remind them, keep going. Because sometimes God uses ordinary people to deliver extraordinary encouragement. Sometimes the miracle is not that the storm disappears. Sometimes the miracle is that you find peace while the storm is still around you. And that peace is powerful. Because when you have peace inside, the world cannot easily steal your hope. People can criticize you. People can misunderstand you. People can walk away. But they cannot take away the purpose God placed inside you. Your identity is bigger than your circumstances. Your future is bigger than your failures. Your calling is bigger than your past. Remember the person from the beginning of this story? The one who felt invisible? The one who wondered if anyone noticed their pain? They finally realized something. The tears they cried were not proof that they were weak. They were proof that they had a heart that still cared. The battles they faced were not proof that they were forgotten. They were proof that they had strength they never knew existed. The waiting was not wasted time. It was preparation. And maybe your waiting season is also preparing you. Maybe the reason you have been tested is because you are being strengthened. Maybe the reason you have walked through darkness is because you are learning to recognize the light. So tonight, tomorrow, whenever you hear this message again, remember, you are not your worst mistake. You are not your biggest failure. You are not the rejection you experienced. You are not the pain someone caused you. You are a person with a story still unfolding. A story filled with lessons. A story filled with growth. A story filled with moments you have not experienced yet. And if you feel lost, return to faith. If you feel tired, return to hope. If you feel broken, remember that broken things can be restored. The same God who creates new beginnings can create one for you. Thank you for staying until the end. If this message touched your heart, share it with someone who needs hope today. Because you never know. Your share might reach the person who needed one reminder that they are not alone. Keep believing. Keep praying. Keep moving forward. Because your story is still being written. And the next chapter may be more beautiful than you ever imagined.